Tonight, a star-studded World Cup draw. Canada's first opponents revealed. The FIFA spectacle and how Canada stacks up against the competition.
It is going to be the biggest deal ever.
Plus, the potential matchup some fans are praying for. The co-hosts connect on center stage with trade tensions simmering in the background.
We've had a tremendous working relationship with Canada.
How the sideline meeting between Mark Carney and Donald Trump played out. And remembering a celebrated architect.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
The remarkable designs of Frank Gehry that defied convention.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. The countdown is on to the 2026 Men's World Cup, one of the biggest global sporting events ever. The star-studded FIFA draw today in Washington was about more than just a game, with the leaders of the host countries, Canada, the U.S. and Mexico, all in attendance, with private meetings on the sidelines. We'll get to the politics in just a moment. First, we begin with CTV's Paul Hollingsworth on the matchups fans have been waiting for.
48 teams, 12 groups of 4. Switzerland and Qatar will battle Canada in Group B. The fourth team in Canada's group will be determined based on the winner of an upcoming pre-World Cup playoff.
Between Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
As a host country, Canada automatically qualified for the World Cup and are ranked 27th in the world. With the complexion of their group competition taking shape, Canada now looks ahead to the World Cup, hoping to win a tournament game for the first time ever, and it won't be easy.
Well, obviously they got the toughest pot 4 team. We know that. We don't know who it's going to be, but thinking it being a European team, and it could be Italy themselves, it makes it an extremely difficult game. But what an exciting match we're going to get in Toronto.
The draw and the spectacle around it featured a long list of world leaders and sports figures like Tom Brady and soccer legend Roberto Carlos, along with celebrities such as Heidi Klum, who added color, flavor, and entertainment to an event that was watched around the world. The Great One was tasked with revealing some of the teams in each group, but had trouble with certain country names.
North Macedonia.
Canada's first ever World Cup match on home soil is June 12th in Toronto versus the winner of the European playoff. Canada will then move to Vancouver for games on June 18th and 24th against Qatar and Switzerland, respectively.
Bring it, whoever it is. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Like, honestly, it's a World Cup.
FIFA will also unveil the full match schedule on Saturday, announcing all the teams that will play in Canada at the World Cup. Heather.
Paul Hollingsworth in Washington. Thanks, Paul. Excitement in Canada's 2 host cities is really starting to pick up now that we know who Canada will play and when in both Toronto and Vancouver. Fans gathered there and across the country today to ponder the possibilities and watch World Cup history unfold. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson has that part of the story.
Canada! Canada!
Covered in red and white, they hold their breath for every pivotal pick. In Vancouver, not far from BC Place, where Canada will play 2 games, it's now really sinking in. The World Cup is coming.
The feeling is phenomenal, actually. We went to the last World Cup because my father and I had said that was going to be on our bucket list. It was my first World Cup. It was the most incredible experience. The fact that it's coming here to Vancouver, I am over the moon.
The biggest reaction here during today's draw came when it was announced Italy, if it qualifies, will be added to Canada's group.
It did it, Italy! As Italian Canadians, it certainly makes things more exciting. I mean, it would have been nice if they played in Vancouver. It would have saved me a flight to Toronto, but it's such a special feeling. You know, Italy's my blood, but Canada's my home.
If the Italians do win their way in, they will be Canada's first test on home soil in Toronto, where today some Italian Canadians say they'd be torn.
It's like asking, which son or daughter you love best.
Fans also gathered outside Canada's two host cities. In Calgary, one World Cup ticket holder will be heading not east or west, but south.
Oh, I'm so excited. We have a game. We're going to a game in Seattle. I bought my boyfriend tickets for his Christmas present.
In Edmonton, one fan believes today it was Canada that received a gift.
With that group, I think their chances are actually quite good to get out of the group. There's a really good chance that they can move forward.
One thing we know for sure, 6 months from now at BMO Field in Toronto and here at BC Place, some of the world's top teams, accompanied by some of the world's most die-hard fans, will deliver a spectacle Canada has never hosted before. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
One of Team Canada's players shared his excitement today. Here's what Richie Larea said on the FIFA red carpet.
All of this is surreal to see all the different nations, so many different people here together to see what's going to happen here in an hour or so is special. So I'm excited for our entire country to see how this unfolds for us.
With all eyes on the matchup, now the analyzing begins for just how well Canada could fare during this tournament. Here's what TSN's James Duthie had to say about Canada's group.
I think it was okay, an okay draw for Canada. I think it started pretty well. Switzerland is a really good side, but Jesse Marsh, the coach of Canada, said he really thinks that Canada's pressing style matches up well against Switzerland, so that wasn't too bad. Then getting Qatar out of pot 3, I think, is a real bonus for Canada. That's one of the weaker teams in there, and Canada should be able to win that game. So it was going really well until the last pot, where that was probably the worst possible scenario for Canada, drawing the European playoff group, which will be one of 4 teams, but the favorite team there is Italy, and Italy by far would be the strongest team to come out of that group. Now, it'll be an amazing spectacle if it is Italy to open up Canada's World Cup in Canada on June 12th in Toronto, but that part's not maybe the greatest draw for Canada.
Prime Minister Mark Carney was front and center at today's draw alongside Donald Trump and Mexico's president. They sat together at the Kennedy Center for the main event and met on the sidelines. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Melvin on what this could signal for trade talks.
Soccer may be the star of the show, but politics also on the program. The U.S. President Donald Trump telling reporters,
We're getting along very well. I think we have a meeting set up for sometime after the event. Yeah, we'll discuss trade.
All eyes on the 3 leaders appearing together for the first time in the middle of a trade war. Co-hosts, teammates for the FIFA draw.
It is going to be the biggest deal ever.
A very big deal for Canada. Watching from the balcony, they were all pretty chummy. Prime Minister Mark Carney, Mexico's president in the middle, and President Trump. For Carney, it's his first face-to-face with the president since October, when Trump abruptly cut off trade talks, angry over that Ontario anti-tariff ad, even floating the idea of blowing up the trilateral trade agreement he once called the best deal ever.
Mr. President, this is your prize. This is your peace prize. There is also a beautiful medal.
There's never been a FIFA Peace Prize, but Donald Trump got the first one. In a good mood, he even gave a shout-out to his co-hosts and trading partners.
We've had a tremendous working relationship with Canada. We have our Prime Minister of Canada there, and we have our President of Mexico.
All smiles after a family photo. The 3 leaders huddled together behind closed doors for about 45 minutes. The Prime Minister's office called the talks between the 3 leaders constructive discussions, and they agreed to keep working together on CUSMA. From low expectations, perhaps, to a reset. The president showing off his signature moves. Maybe sports can smooth over political tensions.
The big question now, are the trade talks back on after that meeting? Certainly face-to-face diplomacy can't hurt. Heather?
Joy, thank you. In a massive merger of Hollywood studios and streaming giants, Netflix has agreed to buy a major part of Warner Brothers Discovery for more than $72 billion U.S. The announcement may throw theaters into upheaval, with some experts fearing for their survival, and that big changes on the big screen could hit an industry still struggling post-pandemic.
the experience of seeing a movie in the theater is diminished somewhat because it doesn't feel special because you can watch it 2 weeks later at home. So that is my concern here. I hope that they will give movies enough time to breathe.
The deal will give Netflix a massive stable of marquee catalogs and content from networks such as HBO and CBS. Netflix's CEO says the deal will, quote, help define the next century of storytelling. However, this story's ending has yet to be written, as the deal will likely face antitrust scrutiny. If the agreement goes through, there could be concerns about a virtual monopoly, since Netflix is already the world's biggest streaming service and would acquire HBO Max, which has nearly 130 million subscribers of its own. An icon in the world of architecture who designed some of the most awe-inspiring buildings ever constructed has died. Frank Gehry was the most celebrated architect of his time. Among his many masterpieces, the Art Gallery of Ontario. CTV's Heather Wright on his fascination with modern pop art.
His buildings have reimagined cities and transformed skylines. Part art, part architecture, always recognizable as a Frank Gehry.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Finally, you call it what you want.
Born Frank Owen Goldberg in Toronto, Gehry first developed a love of building at the family hardware store, where he would create tiny cities using nails, screws, and scrap wood. In 1947, the family moved to Southern California. Doctors had told his ailing father he might not survive another cold Canadian winter. It was in California that Gehry's career began. His most notable design of this time, his own home, experimenting with metal, plywood, and chain-link fence. In 1997, Gehry's international reputation took off with the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao, described by some as the greatest building of our time. From there, he designed the Walt Disney Concert Hall, the Dancing House in Prague, and the Fondation Louis Vuitton in Paris. At 75 years old, Gehry began his first ever project in his native country.
I never expected to even do a building in Canada.
The redesign of the Art Gallery of Ontario, which today the AGO called a transformation and a masterpiece.
It feels like a homecoming in many, many ways. That does move you. It does make me want to be there. And I'm grateful that somebody thought to bring me there.
Gehry also collaborated with the Mirvish family to build Forma, an at times controversial project in Toronto's entertainment district that has not yet been completed.
We cut the ribbon.
Gehry's innovative designs were not always commercially viable. Several projects scrapped due to budget constraints. Still, he remained a dreamer. His work now dots cities in more than a dozen countries, a lasting legacy of art, function, and innovation. Frank Gehry was 96. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
The first online auction to sell off treasures from the Hudson's Bay collection exceeded expectations. This Kuba Brzgalski painting of snowshoers in the iconic striped coats went for $170,000, and a single bidder spent more than $27,000 on 7 vintage blankets. Proceeds are being used to pay down Hudson Bay's debt after the company filed for creditor protection last March. Coming up, mixed messages on the job front.
People are scared, right?
What new numbers say about the overall economy. Some strong economic news today, with more jobs added across the country for the third straight month. 54,000 jobs were added in November, which drove the unemployment rate down to 6.5%. Youth unemployment is higher, but also fell to 12.8%. Most of the overall job gains were from part-time work. While the job numbers showed surprising growth, a closer look reveals much of it this year has been concentrated among big companies, while small businesses have been losing workers or aren't hiring. CTV's John Venevali-Rao on what we're hearing from that sector.
At the Black Dog Pub in the East End of Toronto, business is actually quite good right now. It's busy amid the Christmas season, and quite the contrast to a month ago.
We had a lot of groups and a lot of parties.
But manager Brian Foss says overall they've noticed a bit of a slowdown this year, with customers spending less. They haven't had to lay anyone off, but sometimes their staff don't get as many shifts as they'd like.
People are scared, right? A lot of people that would go out maybe 2 times, 3 times a month are going 1.5 times a month and saving their money.
The pub is also feeling the pinch, with the cost of food on the rise, along with beer. And like most small businesses, they'd love to expand and hire even more, but economic conditions just won't allow it.
I feel like people are maybe not ordering as much when they're here.
The group Merchant Growth, in a recent survey, found 77% of small businesses aren't hiring seasonal staff for the holidays. 28% said it's because they can't afford additional wages. 15% said they're uncertain about their sales outlook.
Hiring intentions have been down all year, and importantly, layoff intentions have been up all year. So when you mix those two together, you get for a weak labor market.
While large firms have added jobs this year, small businesses seem to have struggled more with tariff shocks, inflation, and higher operating costs.
The one good thing is that a lot of people are spending their money in Canada. That's a big, big change, which is really helpful.
Meanwhile, some small business owners remain cautiously optimistic things could improve in the new year. John Valley-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead tonight. How Canadians feel about Ottawa's options when it comes to buying new fighter jets. Canada has removed Syria from its list of countries considered state supporters of terrorism, saying Syria's transitional government has worked to bring stability to the country and work with global partners. Inside Syria today, a massive crowd gathered to mark the first anniversary of the fall of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. It happened in the city of Hama, which was captured a year ago today by rebel forces, who would claim control of the whole country a few days later, ending nearly 14 years of civil war. Canada has long committed to procuring 88 U.S.-made F-35 fighter jets to replace Canada's aging fleet, but the government is reviewing its options in light of lingering trade tensions and Sweden pledging up to 10,000 jobs if Canada purchases jets from them. Now, new numbers are showing what matters most to Canadians. CTV's Rachel Aiello has the details.
As the Canadian government contemplates following through on its procurement of Lockheed Martin's F-35s, or diversifying the Air Force's fleet by also acquiring Swedish company Saab's Gripen E fighters, a nano survey is shedding new light on what Canadians think is most important. 40% said having the fighter jet that is the best solution. 28% said picking the jet that generates the most Canadian jobs. 18% said defense cooperation with Europe was the most important factor. Double the number of Canadians who said cooperation with the U.S. was key. And just 2% of those surveyed said the government should pick the lowest cost option.
What this shows is that if the government decides to change tact, it's actually going to have to explain why.
A recently leaked defense document revealed the F-35 scored higher than Saab's Gripen across a range of military and technical performance categories.
In your report and recommendations to the Prime Minister in this review, did you let him know that the F-35 beat the Gripen by a mile?
The review continues, and it will continue until it's complete. And I am quite sure that the kinds of metrics you're alluding to and referring to will find their way into the final report.
Experts say while the F-35 may be the better choice to maintain compatibility with the Americans, a diversified fleet could also be to Canada's advantage, even as critics suggest Saab's pledge to create 10,000 jobs in Canada is unrealistic.
There is no single best jet. It depends on the missions.
The defense minister has not committed to a deadline for when the government will decide what fighter jet or jets will ultimately be selected. Heather?
Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Thanks, Rachel. The defense minister has committed to improving recruitment for the Canadian Armed Forces. After years of missing targets, it is on the rise. At the Leadership and Basic Training School in Quebec, a record number of new recruits are graduating. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Bushman attended a graduation parade.
For 8 weeks, instructors put these recruits through their paces mentally and physically.
running a lot of push-ups, squats.
And this is parade day, marking the end of basic training. This week, a large contingent, 5 platoons, graduated. 204 new soldiers, sailors, aviators, and new officers. This in a record year at the Canadian Forces Leadership and Recruit School in Saint-Jean.
This year we put on 7,600 basic training seats, which is the most we've ever run in the post-Cold War history of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Among them, 22-year-old Private Erica Jerome Valdez.
I think the Canadian Armed Forces has worked really hard to improve their image and also diversity.
There's also money on the table. After years of falling short of recruitment targets, the forces boosted salaries. And Ottawa's investing billions in the military.
I think it's fair that we are getting that improvement.
But geopolitical tensions, Arctic defense have drawn attention to securing Canada's sovereignty and changing the face of who's signing up. Traditionally, most recruits hailed from military families. Private Logan McMacken followed in his grandfather's footsteps. He served in the Second World War.
You hear these stories and you see him, and it's just like super inspiring.
But now, among those celebrating this graduation, many like Chantal Doss from Newfoundland, with no military links.
I just couldn't be more proud as a father.
They know there's a need to support Canadian security and the security of our values, and they're coming in as the very first person in their family or their friend group to serve. It's a definite change.
There's still a lot of new recruits needed to fill the gap, and only 18% of candidates are women, but there's improvement. And the mission now is to continue the trend, to continue to beef up military ranks. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec.
Still ahead, why this baseball star struck out with young Blue Jays fans. Production of the Olympic medals are taking shape in Italy as it gears up to host the Winter Games in February.
I will produce 1,100 medals, which will be based mainly on 700 for the Olympic Games and 400 for the Paralympic Games.
Machines are running all day to create the gold, silver, and bronze medals at the Italian State Mint. Each gold medal will contain over $800 worth of gold, though getting one is, of course, priceless. Well, Ryan Reynolds knocked it out of the park this year with this video promoting the annual campaign to raise money for Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto.
And this year, well, it just happens to be the pride of Ontario and Los Angeles. That's right, Mr. Freddie Freeman.
Of course, Freddie Freeman was a key member of the Los Angeles Dodgers who defeated the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series, and the kids weren't exactly thrilled to see him.
You've really got some nerve coming here.
I just wanted to visit because I'm just so happy and so proud of
Get
how you guys
outta
are.
here.
Whoa, who threw that?
Go back to your sunshine and traffic, you hoser.
Freeman was a good sport, playing along in the video as he struck out with the kids. The All-Star was raised in California, but his parents are from Ontario, and he plays for Team Canada to honor his mother who passed away from cancer when he was 10 years old. That is our newscast for this Friday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.